we're just hearing from the central government that 3 days of mourning have been declared in Spain as the number of those killed in the devastating floods have hit 72. The Spanish government made the announcement and the country is faced with the worst natural disaster in 50 years. Joining me in the studio this afternoon, Pedro and Ignacio from Pellicer and Heredia, Alicante Lawyers.es. The news just seems to get worse hour by hour, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been terrible from yesterday. It's been terrible news. The forecast, and I heard that might be raining still.
There is rain still due in some areas, worse north of Valencia, we hope. But still in the town, around the town, the devastation and the pictures that we've been seeing today are just devastating.
It is a tragedy. I remember probably almost 40 years ago, I remember that in 1982, 1983, I remember we had the same situation. I was a child, and it happens more or the same. And obviously it's a tragedy. We send our support and our condolence to the families. But it's a tragedy that obviously give you thoughts in order to say what should have been done before.
Yes, that certainly has been mentioned today. Already there are some questions about certain emergency services being cancelled in the Valencia region when the last government came into power regionally. I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about that in the coming days, but that as the country becomes to deal with the situation. King Felipe VI has spoken of the enormous destruction to infrastructure. He's warned that there is still difficulty accessing some areas. Earlier, Spanish Prime Minister promising residents in affected areas, we won't abandon you, but said this devastating episode isn't over, so some areas still likely to receive more rain. In fact, across Valencia, some more rain expected, but perhaps nothing like what we saw in the last 24 hours for the Valencia region. Let's hope not, certainly. These things are happening more and more. Floods, climate change being the culprit, according to a lot of scientists. Some people dispense with that and say we get these cycles and these things tend to happen. But we have seen in the past, certainly in Javier, it was about 14 years ago, I think, some quite devastating floods thereabouts. And things can be done, can't they? The clearing of riverbeds certainly seems to be something that should be done. But we do see again and again. It was in Benidorm a few years ago where there was a local market in a street that was known to flood during rainstorms, and that happened there as well. And it seems that these things don't live very long in people's memories.
That's right. I mean, at the end, this has to be on thoughts and writing and people, governments, just to study why this is happening. Why do we have buildings in places that we shouldn't have built anything? And obviously, these situations is something that alarms everyone. But at the end, we need to understand why this is happening. If there's a mistake from governments, a mistake from the planning on the buildings, on the cities and the municipalities, and emergencies and everything. I mean, obviously, there are things that more than 60 people have died at this time. So it's something that is relevant in order to study all this. And I understand all of them has lost, many of them has lost their houses. And it's something that is relevant in order to check what has been done improperly.
Yeah, and of course we'd have to say that it is successive governments. Both sides have been in power whilst these things have been happening. And I guess, if we're told that these situations are set to continue, really some work needs to be done on how we deal with them in the future. Meanwhile, Pedro, what about those who have been affected? Do insurance companies in Spain cover flood damage to homes, for instance?
Yeah, at the end, most of, I would say, more than 90% of people has a house insurance. House insurance, normally, if you check the policy, will not cover specifically the natural disasters, like flood, like earthquakes, like any natural disaster will not be included in a insurance policy. But that's not mean it doesn't cover it. It is covered because it is covered by the Consortium Compensación Seguros.
All right. So if it's not covered by your own insurance company,
but it is covered because you have an insurance, which obviously your insurance pays some money to the Consortium Compensación Seguros. So it really is covered, but it will be paid by this public entity, public company.
So that would be the Insurance Compensation Consortium. I
Yes,
guess.
that's correct.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's exactly it.
So, so if you have an house insurance, that's perfect, because in that case it covers that Consorcio de Compensación de Seguros, in terms of validate which is the damage, which is the compensation that you need to do. Obviously, up to the cover amount that you have instruct to your insurance.
So you have to have had insurance in the first place to qualify. Mm-hmm.
So imagine that you have an insurance of that covers your property of 150,000 euros. But your property is really 300,000 euros value, and your property collapses because of a flood and goes down. I mean, the Consorcio de Compensación de Seguros will just pay up to 150,000 euros, not the value of the property. Mm-hmm. So this is why it's important to evaluate properly and cover properly what you want to protect.
Okay. What about vehicles? Are they covered as well?
Yeah, I mean, every natural disaster that happens, I mean, the vehicles, property, and the insurance policy, normally this is covered by Consorcio de Compensación de Seguros.
Okay.
It's like a reinsurance.
It's like a reinsurance.
Yeah, reinsurance. So you have your own insurance, and then you pay on a monthly basis to be reassured.
Okay.
So for those who have a home insurance now, or just the vehicle insurance, that should be covered by their insurance company, which they don't really pay for it. They only deal with, and they are like the middleman with the consortium agency, I will call it. The problem will be for those who do not have an insurance and only need to deal with the consortium, which is a different battle, you know.
So do you do this in the normal way, as you would with any type of accident or disaster situation? You take photos of the damaged property or vehicle and then claim through your own insurance company, or do you?
Correct.
Well, it could be done in both ways. I mean, as in your insurance company, or you do it directly to the Consorcio de Compensación de Seguros. There's a webpage in Google, Consorcio de Compensación de Seguros. You get access to that, and will be obviously a direct line with them. But obviously, there are two ways. With your insurance, they manage with that, or directly with the public administration, which is a public entity in this case.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could check with your insurance company itself to give you some idea of what you.
Many
should
of them
do.
will recommend you to do it directly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, is there anything that people can do to get compensation during the emergency situation? Can you get immediate help, perhaps? Is that possible?
Oh, immediate. Well, that's a
no. I would like to think yes, but I don't think. It depends on your policy, I would say. I don't know whether your insurance will cover or anticipate money cover eventually for the consortium.
I think it depends on the government declaring a catastrophic situation, perhaps. Or
that will cover for those ones who do not have insurance.
I see.
For those ones who do not have insurance, then will be a grant, like a help, but will not be the same covered as a consortium. Will be less. Will be less. Will be like a fixed amount sometimes. Will be like something that will not cover the value that you expect to be receiving. Okay. So, and it's not compatible. If you receive something from the consortium, you will not receive something from this government.
I'll post the details for the consorseguros.es website. It is in English, and we were saying that this is where people go for compensation for extraordinary situations, natural disasters, things like that. It's not. This is still part of what it's a compulsory government risk insurance in Spain. So all insurers have to have this in addition to their normal insurance, like you said, a reinsurance or an extra insurance. Yeah. So how long do payments take for this sort of thing? Does it come from insurance companies or does it come from government?
Well, the government wants takes more time because it needs to be declared. The area or the situation that has happened is like a zona catastrófica, which is like I don't know in English, it's like catastrophe.
A disaster or a catastrophic incident
exactly.
has to be declared.
So it needs to be declared as with so many issues in order to declare that. And so that is why it takes more time, and then the public administration take a little bit more time. The consortium, they already had the money. They already had it. Because the insurance companies, they pay some percentage every year to them, so the money is there. to pay in cash, so they do it rapidly. As much as you send all the proof, as much as you prove that obviously that you are the owner, this is what this is the insurance. I mean, as much as you prove the damage and everything, maybe it take some time, but will be rapid. It's going to depend. I mean, in this situation, for example, in Valencia, may take some weeks, may take some months, but will not be taking years.
I don't think there's any doubt that we will have that declaration.
No, that's right. In this situation, it will be like that.
Yeah.
But imagine that someone something happens to someone, just one person, because I don't know, like a thunder or like something happened,
lightning or something like that.
Lightning to one house. It's a natural disaster. It's a natural issue, and that it will not be declared as a catastrophe situation.
Right.
But obviously, you have insurance, and obviously will covered by the Consortium insurance.
Okay,
case.
so it's www.consortseguros.es. There is a way to change that website to English. We'll post the details on our Facebook page so that if anybody wants to check that out. And obviously, so a number of people have been affected by the situation in the Bay Radio listening area, so might need a little bit of help in English on that one. Or, of course, you can speak to your insurance company. Meanwhile, gentlemen, you've been talking about wills, a bit of a review going on your clients about where they are with their wills. And we've talked in the past about how often you need to update, but there are certain things that you need to make sure that you keep updated in your will, yes?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. We did start just a newsletter within our clients because of the need of updating information, especially because we're working as executors for a lot of our clients. And some of them do not have any children, or they don't leave things to family, and they want us to do things for them. So there are two important things we need to have in place. One is an instruction from them where to contact and what to contact, and
so the beneficiaries, if
the details, because I'll tell you a story, and two, well, obviously the instructions. I mean, not only the beneficiaries, because sometimes we're dealing with the Cancer Association as well in the UK and here. For example, a client just passed away last December, and left everything to the Cancer Association. So that was Spain for the Spanish assets, UK Cancer, I think, Research or Association for the UK. And we did draw up international assets, and she had an Irish policy, then 50-50. So it's for us the job to do to start searching. Now, if the client doesn't tell you where to contact, what to contact. I mean, we don't have the crystal ball, we don't know. Especially if you don't have children. If you don't have children or you don't have relatives, that's a very hard job for us. So I think it's important to update wills and to provide family members contact numbers. For example, the children should have your lawyer's number. The executor should have your beneficiaries' telephone numbers and emails. And especially as well, it helps a lot. Well, since we do a lot of things for clients, I mean, we've got a wide range of services. It is good in that respect because we know their tax returns, we know their assets, and it's easier for us to contact the providers. But I sometimes thought about for those, and Pedro and me, we've been discussing there's a lot of money left in the bank, nobody knows, and it's just there, and nobody will claim.
The bank didn't say anything.
Yeah.
The bank just stays quiet.
Yeah.
And well, it happens many years ago. Right now, it's compulsory to obtain, like when someone has died, if you had or not a life insurance. Because many people died before. I had a life insurance, and the insurance company or the bank, they didn't say anything. And if you don't show it, they didn't say anything. It was crazy, but it was like that.
The people who were inheriting had to know about it in order to. Yeah.
We cannot imagine how much money is in the banks that will be kept there forever. I mean,
nothing can be done with it, obviously, but it sits in those accounts. So
this is why we always say to our clients, especially international clients, I mean, tell us where the money. We don't need to know everything. I mean, we obviously as we deal with taxes, we have a lot of information, obviously, but obviously we need to understand why something is obviously it do not is not hide. I mean, whenever it comes, we will be able to give it to the beneficiaries. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. This client of ours passed away 31st of July. Well, this is another real story short. She left in the old days to the nieces, and obviously they didn't even know. She was living with her father. Her father passed away. Now she was living with her dog in the campo. And suddenly this September, when we came back from holidays, Tamsin tells me, "Oh, do you know that this lady just passed away?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, she was a good client, and she did a lot of photography for us."
We have some of them in our head office in
the office. In the office, we have pictures, and she was a teacher. She was a UK teacher, and then we just managed to go, well, I obviously, when Tamsin told me this, I said, well, let's arrange an appointment. Let's go to her property. Because the neighbour said the only way to find out, we had a copy of the will, but we didn't have the telephone number, the emails, probably the assets, because this will was granted 15 years ago, and it was left as it is. So we arranged an appointment, between the office. I called the local police to go because the local police had the keys, etc. The story was that the dog announced that something was going on to the neighbours. So the neighbours, 2 or 3 days after she passed away, or probably 2, knew something was going on. Right. So they called the police, etc., etc. So they were the one who took over possession of the property. And then after that, when we found out, we went there and we had to start searching for paperwork and diaries. The telephone, unfortunately, was not there, so somebody stole it. We presented the denuncia already to the Guardia Civil. The car was taken. This goes very...
This happened, wow, that's in a relatively short space of time.
Yeah, I'm talking about 31st of July. And funny enough, when we went there, the neighbors said, well, the car was here this morning. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know what's going on, but the car just disappeared. Now we found it because we lodged a denuncia through the Guardia Civil, and suddenly they found it with somebody who apparently was... a gardener or something like that, okay? But actually, when I went to the property, I said, well, the first thing we need to do is just get the telephone number, try to access to the iPhone or a telephone.
The next of kin.
The next of kin and see whether we find that. Okay, obviously it wasn't there. And the police said when she passed away, it was there charging.
The phone was there.
The word was there. Neither we found the purse with the money and the residency cards.
Which also had been there when the police originally attended.
Yes, they said it was. There was. So obviously we did another denuncia as executors of what has happened. Funny enough, Isabel and myself, we decided to go on the ground floor, try to start searching and see, well, let's see what we could find, whether we could find the beneficiaries. Thank God we found a laptop. And we took the laptop and obviously it had some battery because it was a UK laptop that you need the adapter. And otherwise it wouldn't work. But funny enough, we took it to the office, we started researching, and we found out the email from the sister-in-law, the mother of the nieces. Right. And that really helped us to tell them that she did pass away and they were beneficiaries and they need to come over to Spain because she was still in the sanatorium. She was still...
Wow.
Yeah, she was there because nobody was claiming about the body and anything. So again...
And that costs as well, actually. That's a daily cost.
Correct. And you know what, Cole? Another good thing here, we finally found a policy, a funeral policy, which is covering now everything. But to start with, they say, "Oh no, we don't have it here in the details." And I said, "Yeah, I've got. Thanks to her, we've got all the policy on writing. So I'm sorry, you need to cover that." And it was a lot of money.
And this is that's quite an intricate scenario because there are a number of steps that you need to take there, and there's obviously quite a bit of detection work to go on.
Detection.
So you can prevent all of that, obviously,
Of
by
course.
updating your beneficiaries and updating the executor if it doesn't actually happen to be your lawyer, or even just get it all down on a piece of paper, put it in the top drawer, along with the funeral policy, etc. Things like that all together. But yeah, the main thing is to update your will and get those details updated. Is it a large cost to do that?
No, not necessarily. Probably, as you just said, it's as simple as going back to your lawyer and saying, is this will correct? Yes, it is. Sometimes you don't even change the will. You need to update the details, and the lawyer will update in their system, as we're doing, which is registering here their instructions, their telephone numbers, and doesn't really need much. Important thing